This is not in focus. Hey, welcome back. This is Overkill Reviews, Bootleg Edition. And in life, every time there's pleasure, thus must come pain. So I reviewed Sleep, and now I'm reviewing the new DIMMU BORGIR album. Woo. And so if you didn't catch that review, this is Bootleg Overkill. We're still on hiatus, so it's just me and a camera, no frills, nothing fancy, down, dirty, and cheap. Let's get into it. So today, big news in the metal world. After an 8-year wait, hey look, DIMMU BORGIR put out a new album. It's Eonian, out today on Nuclear Blast Records. DIMMU BORGIR is a band so big that your mother cuts you out articles from the local paper to show you because this is what she thinks you listen to, and she's just trying to connect with you, Steven. So, DIMMU BORGIR, they're a Norwegian symphonic black metal band formed in '93. They quickly began incorporating more and more symphonic elements and went on to be one of the biggest metal albums in the world. Metal albums? And went on to become one of the biggest bands in the world, becoming one of the biggest bands in metal music. Eonian is the 10th studio album from the band, and it comes out on their 25th anniversary. Not to the day, whatever. The lineup has changed a lot over the years, but this is the same one that we had on Abrahadabra, with the core of the band still being Shagrath on vocals, Silent Oz on rhythm guitar, and Galder on lead guitar, with Dare on drums, Gerli Oz on keys, and some goddamn choir on choir. Trivia note. This is also the first DIMMU BORGIR album in 21 years whose cover doesn't look like a flyer for a latex party. Neat. Review time. If you've watched my other reviews, you're probably assuming I didn't like this record. You're right, but maybe not for the reasons you think. Let's find out why. So what's my main issue with the album? It's like the whole thing is an uncoordinated potluck. We've got way too many desserts, Dave brought the same main he brings every time, and there's no kosher option. Feels less like they spent 8 years making an album and more like they made an album over the course of 8 years. I know that's a small distinction, but it ends up being kind of a big one throughout the album. You know, songs written closer to Abrahadabra sound more like that album. An idea that they came up with for one song isn't used throughout the rest of the album. They sometimes end the album a couple of times, and then there's another song after the album ends. It's weird. The biggest barrier for me listening to this, and probably for a lot of you listening at home, is the constant clash between major and minor tones that's found throughout this whole record. So, ICS Vortex left, and there was a bit of a hole. So they filled that with a choir, and the choir is fucking stoked to be here. They're jazzed. If you told me they just came from a production of Cats, I'd 100% believe you. Now, if the chorus was kind of battling with the band in a sort of good versus evil way, that might have worked, but they're just singing along with them, so it comes off like this record is manic depressive. Also, and maybe this is personal, but I think this is a hard fact, choirs don't benefit from singing in English. If you can have a choir sing in a different language, have them do it, because I 100% of the time prefer a choir that I just can't understand to one that I can clearly and thoroughly understand. Speaking of mental illness, the keyboards are driving me crazy. There's these keyboards throughout the whole album that sound almost identical to the ones on Burzum's Philosophem, except for a minor difference that is driving me mental. So on Philosophem, the keyboards are a lo-fi simple keyboard on a lo-fi album, and it gives this spooky, buried in the mix quality. These are not. They are right there. They seem to be added very late in post-production. They don't blend with the music at all, and as a result, they have this weird poppy techno vibe to them where I don't hear black metal, I hear that popcorn song, and it ruins everything. Like when the song Archaic Correspondence comes on, all I'm hearing through that song is so DIMMU BORGIR is a band known for constantly pushing themselves, reinventing their style, reinventing the genre, and None of that is present here. This is all stuff you've heard before, except peculiarly on Council of Wolves and Snakes when they switch over to like a tribal rhythm. And given that it's the fourth song on the album and the second single, that might lead you to think, hey, is this whole album going to have a tribal element they're going to experiment with? No, they introduced that idea for one song and then promptly drop it. So they could have been experimenting, but in the end, it just sort of looks like they have a weird affirmative action hire for diversity purposes. No good. And not only is this whole album not a particularly unique Dimmu Borgir album, the two standout tracks for me being Etheric and Lightbringer sound a lot like Satyricon tracks, which makes it not even an original album in the genre itself. And then I'm comparing the keyboards to Burzum, and for a genre-defining band, we're getting a lot of comparisons to other bands. Now, is this record terrible? No, it's not terrible. I just feel like Dimmu Borgir doesn't know what band they are anymore. They've had so many shuffles and lineup changes, and they've been touring so long that I don't think they know where this band is going anymore, and they're going to need another record to figure that out. When I did my Cradle of Filth review, I went in wanting and excited to hate that record, and then begrudgingly having to admit they did a good job. The flip side is true with this record, where I went in legitimately curious as to what they've been doing over these 8 years, and am now thoroughly pissed about it. So, in the end, being thoroughly unimpressed by this whole affair is why I'm giving it 1, 2, 2.5 skulls that double as popcorn bowls, because fucking popcorn, man. If you're interested in a little black metal with a little bit of a layman twist, what we've got here is my friend's band. They're called Bellis. This album is called Apophenia, and my buddy Jacques the drummer, and he's got a bit of a jazz background, so you get black metal with a little bit of a jazzy flair to the drumming. Worth checking out. Hit them up on Bandcamp or whatever, and thanks for coming out. So, yes, Overkill is still on our summer hiatus, but we brought you some Overkill bootlegs. What'd you think of them? Let us know. And, hey, get subscribed, because even though we're on hiatus, we've got fun little things, some little surprises we're going to be trickling out from week to week. We're not leaving you high and dry, just, you know, maybe a little high. So, hey, get subscribed, check it out. More fun stuff, more surprises coming at you here on BangerTV.